And at HUD, we want to make sure that the resources that we have now, which is American taxpayer dollars, in the Biden administration, they prioritize illegal aliens over the American people. And so we signed an MOU with Secretary Noem at DHS to make sure that HUD-funded housing only goes to American citizens, and no longer will it go to illegal aliens coming across our border. We have about 9 million people living in subsidized housing in our country. 59% of illegal alien families use some sort of welfare program, costing us $42 billion a year. And so we have prioritized American and American people only to live in HUD-funded housing.
Something else we got out of the business of, wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
Me or Elon? We can follow up with the media story.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about it. The Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens to identify them as vectors of disinformation, when we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency. And so that's what we're going to be in the business of doing. We're not going to have an office that does that.
President Trump is truly the most transparent and accessible president in American history, and we are just following his example. That's a little bit why this press briefing today is tardy, because the president was hosting a more than 2-hour-long cabinet meeting with his entire cabinet. Each secretary went around the room to talk about the promises they are delivering on for the American public and the directives they are executing at the behest of the president of the United States. Can you ever remember a cabinet meeting in which the media were welcomed into the room to ask questions of the entire federal government? No, you can't, because it never happened. Joe Biden was afraid to speak to the press because he was mentally incompetent in driving our country into the ground. But fortunately, President Trump has been incredibly hard at work cleaning up Joe Biden's messes and making our country great again.
The president talks about $8 trillion coming into America. And there's only one reason it's coming in. It's because he's finally set an industrial policy for the United States of America. We are the greatest economy in the world. We finally have a president who understands that we need to reindustrialize. We need to be made in America, made in the USA. And you feel it. You feel it with these leaders. You feel it across all your peers. Everyone feels it. It's coming back to America, and we are going to be rocking. So thank you, sir.
Great job. Great job.